Hello, welcome back to the Eden Room. And today we have got the amazing Cai Graham, who is our teen and parenting mentor, our coach in the Eden Room. And she answers all of our questions about our kids, parenting, especially with reference to these changes that we're going through, the uncertainties our kids are navigating right now. Maybe they're having a lot of testing in school. Maybe they've got anxiety past the COVID pandemic. And whilst we're still in the kind of transition back into school after all of that. So say hi if you're joining us. Thanks so much for being here. I'm just about to welcome Cai onto the line. So feel free to put your questions into the chat. Let us know how old your kids are, what questions you've got, maybe what they're going through. Maybe maybe your kids are with you and they've got questions and could do with a little bit of hearing from a qualified coach she is the author of the Teen Toolbox. She is a specialist when it comes to teenagers and parenting. And so she is helping us throughout these really uncertain and unpredictable times. I'm just trying to bring her on now. Don't know why, but I can't see her. So Cai, if you're with me, hopefully you can request to join and we can get you on. And if not, we might have to swap to a Zoom link here because sometimes it can be a bit temperamental. Let's see. Okay, Cai, that's not what I want. That's what I want. There we got Marie France. Hello, Marie. Let us know how old your kids are or if you have any questions. It's great to have you with us today. Hope you're really well and had a lovely Easter. And there's Cai now. Brilliant. I am bringing Cai on. Welcome, Cai. Thank you so much for being with us today for our Teen Talk Tuesday. It says it's adding you, Cai, so hopefully that's going to work in a second. And it's not just teenagers that we're talking about today. It's children of any age, any of your parenting questions. So just feel free to put them forward. I know it's sometimes a little bit vulnerable to ask for help, but if you're having a problem, you're not alone, or if you've just got a situation that you could do with some support with, that is what Cai is here to do. Okay, so she's saying that she's sent it a few times. There she is. Hello, Cai. Hooray. Oh my goodness. I know, the joys of Facebook Live.
How is everyone? A belated happy Easter.
Oh yeah, lovely. And you too. I hope you had a nice time, and thank you so much for doing this with us straight after Easter. We're going to make this more of an official thing, and probably you'll be with us, I think, once a fortnight on a Tuesday for our Teen Talk Tuesdays inside the Eden Room. So if you're a member of the Eden Room or you're following our updates, definitely keep an eye out of how you can kind of build a bit of a consistency around your parenting, because we all know it's great to have those one-off sort of like SOS panic dial things where you've got a question, but it's such an important relationship in our lives. I think we can all admit that if we all get to our deathbeds and we've got terrible relationships with our kids, that's going to be a major thing we're going to look back on and wonder if we could have done it differently. So Cai is here every fortnight to support us in getting this right the first time, not living with all the regrets. And no one's going to do it perfectly, but there's so much for us to learn. That's what I always think when I talk with you, Cai. I just feel the enormity of the pressure on parents, but also how much we haven't been taught and how much important this is. And where were we meant to get that information from if not from amazing teachers like yourself, that we're so lucky to have you doing this work and working so hard to raise the awareness and the standards, really raise the conversation around how we parent, because even now, generation to generation, there's a massive difference between what's acceptable these days and what was okay 40 years ago. So
exactly. I was journaling the other day, and I do it every day, but I was sort of thinking about my own parenting journey, and my kids are now 25 and 27, and I'm still getting it wrong, and but I'm doing the very best I can anyway. And I sort of was looking back, and I sort of said, well, what was I sort of doing when I was their age? And I thought, for flip's sake, I mean, it really is a different era. And a lot of my parenting has been because it might not have been sort of done in my childhood, or maybe my parents got it wrong, and you know, whatever it is. And I think the thing is, that's the problem, is, you know, when we're sort of teaching our kids to ride a bike, when we're teaching our kids how to sew, or how to bake a cake, or how to rock climb, or we've done it all before, and we can sort of go, well, you just do it a bit like this, or, you know, just try this. But because we are parenting in different times to when we were children, there's actually no benchmark. I mean, if we think about communication, I mean, I was trying to teach my mum virtually how to sort of, you know, do a Tesco shop, and then my daughter was going, calm down, mum, she's 81, she's never done this. You know, for my mum, you know, when you look at technology, when you look at us with technology, it's come on so quickly that we actually don't have anything to sort of hang on to. It's we don't have the experience of previously how we dealt with it. I mean, my way of communicating with my friends was sitting on the hall stairs with a phone with a very long cable. Well, I mean, you know, try explaining that to an 81-year-old. And we're the same as far as parenting is concerned. The goalposts have changed so much that we don't really have anything to sort of compare to. So we are learning by the trip and fall method, and that's all right. And that's what change brings, isn't it? Is the fact that change for many people, and we'll talk about this little fellow later on, but change for many people is quite scary, because in our minds it's, well, if I've done it before, I can do it again. But when sort of things like, you know, especially with a pandemic, and we're going, well, what do I do here? And we're going, well, I don't know, I've never done it before. And that's what sort of can cause us a bit of anxiety, is what do we do in situations that we haven't experienced before, be it COVID, be it parenting, be it whatever it is. And we need to train ourselves and teach ourselves is, do you know what? It's okay if it's a bit rough around the edges. It's okay if we sort of don't get it right first time. You know, a toddler, sort of, when they're learning to walk, they sort of fall down all the time. They don't suddenly go, no, it's right, this isn't for me. No, I can't do it. You know, they sort of adjust their sails, and they change their balance, and they sort of, you know, bum shuffle or crawl or whatever in order to achieve what they want to do. And we have to remind ourselves that we are not masters at this. And Beethoven needed to learn his sort of scales and his arpeggios before he created blimmin' symphonies, for goodness sake. And I think the thing is that the expectation for us is get it right first time. And that's a bit scary and a bit blimmin' unrealistic. So if you're a child watching this, or you're a parent watching this, or if you're sort of a teenager, or whoever you are, or you're not a parent, but, you know, it's okay if we sort of make a few mistakes, because that's actually how we learn.
Let's talk to that for a sec, because I feel like that's such a great message, Kai, that we learn through making mistakes. However, I think it's true to say that, you know, especially here in the UK, we've all got a little bit of something on it when it comes to coaching, getting help, asking for help. We're getting there, but I think as a whole, there's been a lot of awkwardness and shame around saying, I'm not finding this easy, or I need some help, or I don't really like this. You always talk about helping parents enjoy their children, not just endure their children. And I mean, I feel like there is still a stigma, but one thing that COVID has done is it has given a greater level of permission to people to say, actually, I could do some help here. And all this stuff I used to think was corny, or I used to think was, that I've been a bit skeptical about for whatever reason, maybe there's something in there for me. Maybe this could actually help. Or perhaps, like, you know, maybe there's a God forbid, but like the traumas that you can see happening, like self-harm or addictions, or, you know, certain things that really raise that red flag where we go, I don't care if I feel stupid, I don't care if I look stupid, I just need to get the answers, I need to do something differently, or I need to figure this out for my kid. And I think that's what's been happening more and more, is that as we see the crises show up in these different ways with these symptoms, we're addressing the cause more. And I think the cause is a lot of what you teach in the book, which is that we don't actually have the know-how and the coping mechanisms and the skills, the tools to do this.
And yet still, the people that I see, and be it for parenting or for personal development or whatever, I'm sure you experience this, is that a lot of people only start looking for help as far as parenting. I'm definitely experiencing this, but also personal development, when they hit a crisis, which is a real shame, because then there's more to unpack, then there's, you know, there is sort of more to sort of deal with. Whereas if we sort of thought, do you know what, I'm feeling a bit wobbly and I know I'm not doing it right, so let's sort of, you know, nip it in the bud. You know, it breaks my heart that I am sort of seeing parents who are sort of saying, my son is now self-harming, or my daughter is now suicidal, and I really, really need help. We're hitting rock bottom. And it just sort of, we don't always have to hit rock bottom before we look for help. It's, you know, let's sort of strike a little bit earlier. Let's sort of say, I haven't really done this before, what do you suggest? And then we don't have to get to such sort of crisis level, because yeah, anxiety levels are going up, self-harm levels are going up, the suicide rates are astronomical. And yet when we are navigating this sort of funny old thing called parenting, we can make tiny changes and they have a massive difference. So why not do that early on? Why not do that, you know, before we hit crisis level? And I think you're right, Kat, it is somehow that stigma of, I'm ashamed to say I haven't got it all together. And yet if we want to learn cricket or the piano or whatever it is, we go to a coach, we go to a tutor, we do that, we pay for that. And yet somehow, you know, parenting and self-development is, well, we really should know how to do this ourselves. No, you shouldn't, because no one blooming taught you. And so someone, you know, yes, you can learn how to do it yourself. I tell you what, it takes a hell of a lot longer. That's the thing. And so it's the same with coaching, isn't it? It's why not learn some of these things early on and just let it, like dropping that stone in the water and seeing the ripple effects sort of coming out from that. But I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, it's so good. So I think it's important to let people know that there's no panic about getting this right today. We are going to provide these fortnightly coaching sessions with Cai, where you can come and you can build that muscle, because as you say, like most of us have probably invested more in our career development than we have in caring for the next generation and our kids. And then we wonder why we're face planting every day and feeling terrible because of it.
Our kids, you know, I was going to say prized possessions. They're not possessions, are they? But our kids are, one hopes, the most important thing to us. And I always say that you are only as happy as your saddest child. And if your child is struggling, you don't give a stuff if your report gets in on time. You don't give a stuff if you've got sort of 2 new clients coming in, because really it's, you know, family, well, to me that's one of my core values, but it is everything. And that, in my opinion, is where we need to focus. Is, yes, we are creating a new generation, and you know, our children are our future, and how wonderful if we can sort of walk that journey with them and learn at the same time, for goodness sake. I mean, I'm 20, my kids are sort of 25, 27, as I've said. I've been in the trenches of parenting and I am still learning. And my daughter was helping me out with something yesterday, and I just sort of went, oh my God, I'm beginning to sound like my mother. And she just looked at me. And, you know, that's fine, that's great. But it's just, well, I am learning from Alice, and hurrah, you know, that's what we need to do. How wonderful that I've sort of got a daughter that I sort of, you know, can learn from. And we should be able to do that. You know, I sort of somewhat saw something on Instagram, and sort of some mum was sort of saying how her daughter is teaching her all about, you know, mum, don't go and buy new clothes for a book launch. Go and hire them, for goodness sake. Why should we be spending more on new clothes? And let's just, you know, and sort of save the environment. She just thought, flip, I never thought of it that way. And so, you know, our kids are passionate about things. So let's learn from that, because we haven't, when we were young, or when I was young especially, there was no such thing really as climate change. There was no such thing as sort of, you know, Black Lives Matter. There was no such thing as sort of gender fluidity. So yeah, we still need to learn. And bravo because of that. I mean, you know, another core value of mine is to keep on learning. I don't like stagnating. And so that can be in the parenting realm as well. It should be in the parenting realm, you know, as long as our kids feel supported and safe. And, you know, sometimes it's okay to say, do you know what, I haven't a clue what I'm doing here, but let's just learn how to do it together. It's quite sort of reassuring that, you know, especially the older kids, they quite like to know that, you know, you admit that you're just sort of, you know, you're just learning all this. Or they like to admit that you admit, or they like to know that you are admitting that you don't sort of have it all together. Because I think the thing is that we need to prove that we aren't that superhero, or we aren't sort of infallible, because there comes a tipping point when your child suddenly realizes, oh my gosh, my mum or my dad's human and they got it wrong. And so to admit that.
And I think they see through it anyway. They know that we're human. In fact, they know everything. I remember being that age and seeing through everything.
Oh.
And I think what happens is, if we then chastise them or shut them out or shut them down, then they doubt themselves, and that in itself has massive repercussions on their confidence and their relationships.
Yeah, and especially now, we're still thinking about COVID, and we are trying to reassure our kids, and rightly so, that yes, it's sort of, you know, there's a lot going on there at the minute, and our worlds are changing all the time. But as long as we are leading from a point of surety and clarity, then that's okay. That's reassuring for our kids. You know, if we're sort of a bit sort of wobbly and chaotic, and I just don't know, I just haven't a clue, and masks or vaccinations, or I just don't know what to do here, our kids are going, flip's sake, you know, mum and dad or mum, whoever is meant to be in charge of the family, and they haven't a clue what's going on. But it's okay to say, do you know what, I don't know the answer to that, so why don't we look it up? Or why don't we, you know, where do you think we'll find the answer? And it's all right, because we've never done it before. So, you know, it's a bit like sort of saying, when can we go on holiday, mum? You know, and it's, well, do you know what? I don't know. I mean, this is not something that's happened before, but what we're being told is, and if we follow the guidelines, and if we do X, Y, and Z, and it's just sort of creating that degree of confidence, I think, to know I might not have all the answers, but I'm going to do my damnedest to find the answers if we need them, or to guide my children with, I think, yeah, with surety, or maybe certainty that you are doing your very best. And, you know, and I think that's the thing.
It sounds like it's a bit of a fine line, that one, where you have to give the kids enough certainty and surety that they feel safe and held, and enough authenticity and openness that you're not like bluffing and trying to wing it with them in a way that makes them feel even less secure, because they can read the signs. So it's like finding the way to still be strong and grounded, letting them know it's okay, but also to be that there's things right now that we don't know for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, sort of if we think about GCSEs and A levels as a case in point, is the fact that, you know, it's many kids now sort of should be revising for sort of A levels and GCSEs, or, you know, in the next sort of month or so. And yet, if these exams, you know, because they're not going ahead, it's a sort of, well, you know, oh, I can't be bothered. What's the point? What's the point? And the thing is that, well, actually, there needs to be a point here. Well, I'm not going to take my exams, so what's, you know, I don't have to do any of this. Yeah, but you still need to prepare for the future. Well, what is the future? We don't know, but doing no work at all isn't going to help. So what's our plan, and how do we support one another, and how can I help you? And, you know, what are the school asking you to do? And you know, it's all sort of now on assessment. Well, it's going to be very different to what we know as exams, but sitting here and doing nothing or putting your head in the sand is not the right approach. I don't know what the idea, you know, what the sort of outcome's going to be, but I do know how to prepare you for the future in a more positive way. And that's what we need to do, is sort of, we're not too sure, but the best next steps are X, Y, and Z.
It seems to me like there's a massive possibility and potential for improved relationships between younger people and their families right now, because the truth is we might have all been acting like we had this all under control, and we pre-COVID, you know, had all this certainty about life, but actually we're hurtling on a rock through space. And it's like, why are we in denial about the fact that the only thing constant is change, and none of us actually know what tomorrow will bring for any of us? And surely setting up our kids to be more okay with the uncertainties about things is probably one of the better things we can do for them in their childhood anyway.
And I think that's the thing. It's, you know, it's even sort of at the very beginning of lockdown, we sort of heard, oh, well, this is the end of the life as we know it. And, you know, it's such uncertain times. And it's like, hang on a minute, you know, such uncertain times. Tomorrow is always uncertain anyway. So, I mean, why all of a sudden are we sort of drawing on, you know, this is also uncertain? Tomorrow is never promised. It is never, we have no idea what's going to happen around the corner. And that's always been the case. And suddenly we're sort of saying how awful it is. Well, actually, that's what it's always been like. And we were okay with that, you know, sort of pre-COVID. So we should be able to embrace the change now, if we stopped all this scaremongering. And I think that's the thing. It's understanding that, yeah, as you said, the only certainty is change itself, and that's all right. And rather than the sort of, well, I've no idea what's going to happen, it's all, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen. And just even flipping that and changing it sort of from fear into sort of, ooh, curiosity, can make it sort of a bit of a game, because that's what life is, isn't it? And we're dealt a sort of certain amount of cards, and you either play them well or you play them badly. But my view is that, do you know what? The universe has your back, and everything is happening for you. So if you sort of feel that the chips are down, then sit back and work out, okay, what do I need to learn here? You know, without getting too woo, our soul signed up for this life. And so it's the sort of, what's the lesson that I need to learn here? Because there's no such thing as failure. There's, you know, the only mistakes you make are not paying attention to the learnings of you know, of the lesson. And so it's sort of, it's, if we come from a point of curiosity, it actually takes the pressure and the need to permanently get it right. It takes the pressure off. And how better is that?
Yeah, love that. And the illusion of control that we have in the first place. So what's the most common question you're being asked right now? I mean, what's coming up most with parents and kids at the moment?
It's mainly about anxiety, and it's the anxiety for change. And it could be my child's not eating properly. It could be, you know, I've seen an increase in children. The thing is when our minds are sure that everything's uncertain and we're out of control, then our you know, our minds want to start controlling things. So eating disorders, I'm afraid to say, are on the up. Lots of kids aren't able to sleep because their minds are whirring, and they're sort of going, oh my gosh, what if? So it's a lot of dealing with that, and therefore it's all the anxieties that come with it. There's sort of, you know, I don't know what to do, and I'm going to sort of start explaining now why we have all this anxiety. It's basically, if you sort of think of our brain, our brain has got sort of, and I'm going to dumb it down in you know, in case kids are watching, but our brain has got sort of 3 or 4 compartments, and that's absolutely fine. And right deep in the middle is a little part of our brain called the reptilian brain. And that's sort of sitting there, and it's called, there's a little sort of a little bit in there called the amygdala, which looks a bit like Larry the lizard, and this is the reptilian part of the brain. And the job of the reptilian part of the brain, you might have heard of fight or flight, and that's the part to keep you safe. Okay, so the reptilian part of the brain is permanently on the lookout for saber-toothed tigers, and it's sort of going, oh my God, is there a saber-toothed tiger? And the thing is that all comes from uncertainty. So Larry the lizard's sort of going, no, hang on a minute, it's my job to keep you safe. And out there is COVID, and I've learned that COVID's very, very dangerous, so you're not allowed to go out. And okay, so we've got to social distance, and so we've got to quarantine, and we've got to lockdown, and that's fine, because I'm going to stay here in my home, and I'm going to stay safe, and that's fine. And Larry just sort of sits there for a while, and he's happy enough. And every so often the anxiety comes up, and he goes, oh, hang on a minute, is there anything there? Any saber-toothed tigers here? No, because I've been told I want to keep you safe. And I did my job. Yes, Larry, you did the job really well, because we're still alive today. So that job was done really well. Thank you very much. Well, therefore, what I did yesterday worked, so I'm going to do the same today. And we're going to stay in lockdown, and that's absolutely fine. Thank you. Now we're telling our kids, oh, right, okay, it's time to go back to school. What? No, we can't go back to school because COVID's still out there. Well, no, actually, Larry, it's time to go back to school, but I don't want to because it's bad and scary out there. And you've programmed me for a whole year to say I've got to stay at home and I've got to stay safe. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to stay safe because otherwise I'm going to panic, because otherwise I'm going to have an anxiety attack, because a panic attack, an anxiety attack is his way of trying to keep you safe and keep you at home where it's safe. So the point is, that's what he wants to do. And if you don't listen, the panic attacks and the anxiety attacks get bigger and bigger and bigger. And what we need to do is to speak to this little chappie and say, listen, you've done a brilliant job, but actually I've got this. And will you just trust me here? No, I don't. No, please just trust me, because actually we can't stay at home forever. So we're going to have to just take this one step at a time. And so this is what we need to teach our children, is that this is totally normal, because when someone sort of says we need to get rid of anxiety, no, we do not. We do not. Anxiety, and Larry the lizard is here to keep you safe. He is here to say, you've got your hand in the flame, for God's sake, take it out. You know, this is, we need a bit of pain. We need a bit of friction.
We cannot get rid of it, right? Like, it's here to stay. It's the makeup of the human mind. It's not just we can turn it off. We have to learn to manage it, live with it, be in relationship with it.
Exactly. We need to listen to this. This little fellow is the one that says, stop, we've got a main road here. Don't walk out straight out without looking. There could be a number 47 bus, and if you don't look, you'll be under the bottom of it. And that's what so when we get those butterflies in our tummy, it's, oh, hang on a minute. This means we need to pay attention. Okay. Now, sometimes this wee fella gets his knickers in a twist. And sometimes we need to go, do you know what? Thank you so much. That's good. But actually, I've got this. And sometimes we just need to placate him, and we'll talk about how to do that in a minute. But sometimes we just need to say, it's okay. Yeah, it's a bit, well, it might not be scary, but it's different. And that's where the butterflies come from. We feel, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking on that level, Kai, what a teaching this is. This is almost the best teaching a kid could learn for their lives, because I get this all the time in my business. No, if you're going to get that, and yourself, you must have had this recently with much more visibility and being in the Telegraph or being here and there, and what will the neighbours think? And if we don't overcome this as a kid, we're missing out on an opportunity to learn something that is always going to be needed throughout our lives.
If you want to, the thing is, this little fellow, his job is to keep you safe. He said his job is to keep you alive. Now, he doesn't care how he does it. It's just his number one job. So he wants you to play small. And okay, if you play small, you're in your comfort zone and you have small problems to cope with. Shall I wear my red t-shirt today, or shall I wear my blue? Shall I brush my teeth before or after breakfast? That's absolutely fine. And those are the problems that he can deal with. If you play bigger, you get bigger problems. Shall I try out for the cricket team? Shall I try and do something different? Shall I go onto a Facebook Live? Shall I apply for a job promotion, or whatever it is? And playing big has bigger problems. But the thing is when you play big, then you learn. And when you learn, we build our emotional intelligence, we build our resilience, and we build our confidence. So when you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I did show and tell at school and no one laughed at me, or actually someone laughed at me and it was okay because the sky didn't fall in, so then I can do it next time. Or, you know, whatever, if it's in relation to work, well, yeah, I asked for something and I got an extension in work, or I got a pay rise, or I did my Facebook Live, or I got 3 new clients. And we are, by playing bigger, we have bigger problems, but we have more confidence, we have more clarity. And that's what the sort of toss-up is telling this fellow, thank you so much, Larry, but actually I've got this. And I'm going to learn how to navigate what's going on in this crazy old world, because we have to embrace the messiness of life. By playing small, it's boring. By playing small, we don't grow, and you know, we don't get picked for the hockey match, or we don't get, you know, sort of, you know, I don't know, wanting to apply for being a prefect or whatever it is. If we don't throw our hat into the ring, we just get passed by, which is not really what life's all about, is it?
Well, I think you're so right, and I think these kids and all of us actually post-COVID, we need that skill more than ever, because this, as hard as it's been, I feel there's this opportunity at the moment that it's like this window of opportunity that we've got to have the courage to leap on. And I know there's been a huge setback for a lot of kids, but when they say that's going to equate to a 40 grand pay deduction or whatever, which I saw the other day, the average it's going to cost a child, it upsets me deeply, because I think, who says, and what right has a journalist in an article or a statistic, even wherever they've got their information from, what right does that have to dictate to another generation what their future will be? And my career didn't even exist when I was at school, and from our mothers, they could be what, nurses, teachers, or nuns, pretty much. So how on earth do we know, or could we say, what the future is going to be for these next generation? And so to learn this now, of how to control that inner lizard brain that's going to be fearful and wants to keep them small and safe, just feels like the best teaching for anyone, because we're going to have to be brave and take risks and stretch and grow to evolve and to overcome these challenges that we're all facing.
And sometimes that's the thing, because this Larry's got his knickers in a twist, is sometimes it's not even risks. It's just something different. And so it's the possibility of opportunity. And this fellow's saying, no, you've got to stay home. No, don't go to school. No, don't go and see your mates. No, don't go and do this. And the point is, why not? And I'm ready for this, or I might not be ready, and I am feeling a bit wobbly, but I mean, okay, I'm going to sort of do it anyway. I'm going to, you know, I think the thing is that when we go back into ourselves and we sort of listen to this little fellow, it sort of shuts down the opportunities for us, and it's going back to playing small. And eventually we are going to have to come out of our homes, our caves, or whatever, you know, whatever it is, and eventually we're going to have to come out into this big wide world. So why not just sort of do it gently now? Why not sort of just think, well, what's the worst that can happen? And you know, it's, as long as we take, if we relate it to COVID, as long as we stick to the precautions and as long as we act sensibly, there's no reason to sort of, you know, to start scaremongering too much. And I think the thing is that we, as parents, we need to have that reassurance for our kids. And for, you know, do you know what? In fairness, a lot of the anxieties are not about, I'm going to get COVID and, you know, and the worst will happen. It's not that. It's, I'm worried about going to school because I haven't seen my friends in a while. I'm worried about going to school because I haven't done my work. I'm worried about going to school because I sort of actually quite enjoyed sitting at home watching sort of Netflix and doing everything virtually. And it's, I get that. And I think the thing is as parents, it is so important to validate our children's feelings rather than, oh, you'll be fine. No, you'll be fine. Don't be silly. It's absolutely fine. Come on, off you go. Because that sort of is basically negating what we're feeling. And actually what we're feeling is it's not our fault, but to us, it is very, very real. So I think the trick is to sort of sit down and go, oh, okay. So what is it that's sort of worrying you here? What is it that, you know, rather than negating it, is just trying to unpack it? Because it's when we start talking about it, when we start talking about our fears, face your fear and do it anyway, it's sort of, it starts dissolving in front of your very eyes, because you start talking it through and it goes, all right, yeah, okay. Well, I'm worried about seeing my mates. Well, actually, they haven't seen any of us either. So we're all in the same boat here. And so it's just sort of breaking it down and seeing that something that was very, very big actually doesn't have to be as scary as we thought it could be. So I just think it's important to validate what's going on, to talk about it, and to sort of say, okay, well, how would it be better? What can we do that's different? And it's talking to this chappie. Well, how do we talk to him? Well, the long and the short of it is, this guy is from the caveman times. He hasn't really developed very well. So actually, he doesn't understand language. He doesn't understand French, Spanish, Russian, Japanese, or anything. He doesn't understand that. So, you know, when sometimes when you panic and you go, oh my God, I can't cope, and everyone's going, calm down, that ain't going to work. Calm down, Larry. Larry doesn't even understand that. And he's just going chaotic. And I've got to keep these people safe. And I don't know what to do. Panic attack, making you feel nauseous, making your tummy feel all upset, maybe heart palpitations, sweating, trembles, whatever it is. He's going into overdrive. And the thing is, he doesn't hear the, Larry, calm down, for goodness sake. But I tell you what he does hear and what he does react to. And that's breathing. Because that is the surefire way of speaking to this fellow properly in a language that he understands. And it's not verbal. It's all about creating space for yourself. And it's all about taking deep, slow breaths. And I've spoken about this before, but I shall speak about it again. It's, if you think of, I'm going to just quickly go through box breathing. And if you need a handout on it, then leave a message in the comments, or we can put it in the description. But think of box breathing. And I just want you to breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4. And breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4. And that, it lasts about a minute. You can do it as often as you like, but that is an exercise for your children to speak to Larry the lizard. And it's the way that he sort of goes, oh, right, okay. It's all right, Larry, don't worry. I've got this. And he's panicking. And I go, no, it's okay. I've got this. And he just starts calming down, because we're teaching our body that actually everything's okay. I don't have to run around like a headless chicken. I don't have to, you know, sort of panic. But by breathing, this tells this little guy, listen, because I tell you what, it's exhausting. Being on high alert the whole time is absolutely exhausting. And this fellow is running on empty at the minute, for those people that have got anxiety, you know, experiencing anxiety. So if you breathe with Larry and you teach him box breathing, it gives him the space just to calm down. And that is when we can start thinking more rationally. That's when we can start making better choices. That's when we can go, do you know what? It's only a morning at school because it's a half day. Or do you know what? It's actually my favorite lessons. Or do you know what? I can't wait to get back onto the hockey pitch, or whatever it is. And it gives you and Larry the chance to calm down and to realize that actually I've got this and it's going to be okay. And then something else will happen. He'll go, oh, panic, high alert, fight or flight. And you go, no, 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 Larry, thank you. It's, you know, it's sausages for lunch and we like that. So there's no need to panic this time. And it's just calming him down. Or it's okay, Larry, don't worry. I did this yesterday. Do you remember? And nothing bad happened. So let's just help him calm down, because he has had a year of programming, and he's done very well, and he's kept us safe, and we've been at home. But we now need to reprogram this little fellow. And the best and fastest way of doing that is through breathing. Lots of different breathing techniques, but box breathing is an easy one for the kids to remember. And it just calms everything down, and it helps. And so the more you do it, it's a bit like Beethoven in his scales, the better you get at it. So the more you practice box breathing, maybe tell your kids, right, okay, we're going to practice it. It takes 30 seconds, a minute. And so you can practice it maybe when they do their teeth in the morning and in the evening. And let's just do this, because then when it starts becoming a habit, then this fellow goes, I mean, my Larry the lizard, as soon as he hears box breathing, oh, right, okay, it's that time again. And he just hears the words and he knows it's time to just, oh, okay, this is cool. But we just have to educate him. And that is what builds the resilience for our kids. That's what builds their confidence. That's what teaches them. Do you know what? That was scary yesterday. And actually, I did it okay. So that was scary. And this is scary. Maybe I can try this and see how well I do. And it builds that emotional resilience. It builds that growth mindset that allows us to go from playing small to playing bigger. And when we play a little bit bigger each time, then it creates the excitement, and it allows us to live life to the fullest, as messy as it is, because it's not going to be perfect. Come on, we know that. But it's just embracing those imperfections, and it's acknowledging that, okay, this is all right. I can trip and fall, but as long as like the toddler, I can trip and fall, but it's how quickly I sort of dust myself down and get on with it. Because our problems are always going to be there. Our failures or our mistakes are always going to be there. I don't really believe in failure as long as we learn from the lessons that we are set out to, that we are taught. So yeah, of course, we do things. It's, I had a young client who plays he's 12 and he plays cricket for the county. And so I sort of said to him, well, hang on a minute, this is life. And if we played safe, it's a bit like me sort of throwing the ball at you underarm the whole time. You're not going to get any better. But if I throw overarm and I sort of do googlies or whatever, and I sort of do spins, and I am teaching you, life is teaching you to be a better batsman. So you then improve and you get better, and you might be playing for your country, not only your county. But if we play it safe, then you're not just going to enjoy the fun that life has to offer. And when he got that, he went, oh, okay. Oh, I get that. Right. Okay. So we've got to take chances. We've got to take risks. We've got to accept that sometimes when someone sort of, spins a ball at me, yeah, you might get bowled out, but also you could hit it for 6. So how exciting would that be?
I love that, Cai. Thank you so much. This was such a good day on the sort of the technique and the tip that we can take with us. And I know that you've got tons more to share. If people want to get the Teen Toolbox, they can on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. But if they, and that's in the background there. You can just see it. Yeah. It's a brilliant book. It's really easy to read. I've got it right on my shelf, and I use the tips and the techniques all the time. And I have to say, Cai, thanks to you, I feel like my relationship with my kids is blossoming lately, and I've been dreading the bit where they all are in school, because I kind of love the baby stage, but this stage is proving to be so wonderful. I've got a tween who's 10 this year, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old who's 5 next month, and we're just having a brilliant time at the moment. And so largely thanks to you.
Well, thank you. But I think the thing is that, as parents, we don't have to have it all together. Yes, we need to be a couple of steps ahead of our kids. I appreciate that. But it's also embracing the fact that you are on a journey with your kids. And so it's just, how do we learn through this? How do we grow together? And I'm learning it still with my kids, is that there are always different milestones. There are always different ways of communicating. And one child is different from another. And we need to embrace that and to understand that how we parent one child is very different how we parent another. Because if we sit there and think, oh right, I've got this parenting lark to an absolute T, no. And our children will teach us, no, actually, you need to deal with me slightly differently than my brother or sister. And I think so. We need to be flexible, and I think that's the thing. And embracing the change.
Yeah, and enjoying it, not enduring it. And actually, I think a big part for me, you just said there about, you know, we've got to be okay with not having it all together. I think for me, it's they need to sometimes know that I haven't got it all together, and that has helped a lot. And some, you know, I was always very sort of keeping a sort of a front, like a strong front for them. And then one day I just sort of, they saw me emotional, they saw me overwhelmed, they saw me with all the shopping bags coming in and just having a moment. And since that day, actually, it changed a bit, where suddenly they were like, oh, you know, mum's like a human and she's actually going through all this. And I wasn't trying to keep up this perfect front for them. I realized it wasn't actually helping them for me to be that way.
And being the role model is to sort of say, yeah, life sucks.
Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, life is wonderful, it's scary, it's fantastic, it's colorful, and I have my ups and downs, and look, I'm still here. And it's teaching our kids that, you know, we don't have it all to pull together. And then they sort of go, well, nor do I, but mum's doing okay. So she had a meltdown yesterday, but she's all right today. And so it's teaching them that we can recover from setbacks, we can recover from change, we can recover from, you know, whatever's sort of going on, and you know, we still keep moving forward. And that, so I think that's the thing, is that I'm not sort of saying sobbing into your tea every breakfast time, because that's that's not. But yeah, just sometimes when the wheels come off, just let it go. And there's, you know, for the first time, they might go, oh God, what's going on here? But then it's a sort of, it's explaining to them. And as long as we sort of, you know, no, I'm fine now, please don't worry about me. It's I'm really sorry, I just had a moment, now let me tell you, and then I did this and now I'm better. And they go, oh, okay. So when they have a wobble, then they know that things will get better, just like they witness with you. So we need to model all that. That's vital.
Yeah, and then they know they can talk about it. They've been so much more open, and some of your tools that I know we'll share more on, they those tools work. That's what I love about the tools in your book, the tools that you share. They really work, and they're simple. So we'll do the box breathing for today, but if you enjoyed that, folks, check out the links in the comments. We'll add those, but also come and join us on a Tuesday, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, every other Tuesday, sorry, so fortnightly in the Eden Room. And before we go, Cai, it's been great today. I can't not ask you this. What was your chocolate policy over Easter? How did you let them all have it in one go and then the rest go in the bin, like some parents I know, or did you stagger it out and ration it bit by bit, or did they do their own bit? Like, what was your philosophy?
This is a really, really good question. Okay. You are speaking to someone who NLP'd herself out of eating chocolate. So I don't eat chocolate any longer. And the reason being is that I gave up booze and I gave up cigarettes, and I actually turned to chocolate. And so I got to the stage where I just said, no, actually, this isn't healthy. So using one of the techniques that I use for maybe not necessarily chocolate eaters, but for anxiety. And I was able to sort of stop myself from eating chocolate. So yes, our house was coming down with chocolate. I have at the minute, Alice is 25 and her fiance is also 25, and they are still here from Christmas. They're not so thrilled, but I'm loving it. I had an Easter egg hunt, and I went round my garden for my darling children, and yeah, I hid 84 tiny mini little Easter eggs all the way around the garden. Thankfully, they were. Here's a sort of been there, done that before. I learned from my kids is. Chris said, now every single time you put a chocolate somewhere, take a picture of it, because otherwise it's going to get lost, and the rabbits or the rats or whatever will get it. So I took a picture of everywhere that I placed an egg. So needless to say, they were all recovered. But the policy was, well, I can't really dictate to a 25-year-old terribly, but they're quite good. They haven't eaten it all in one go. They have sort of, they've sort of made sort of various brownies and things, and those have been frozen. But Yeah, they're quite good at limiting it, because what they realise is they've sort of realised that if you eat it all in one go, you'll be sick, and you'll feel sick, and you won't have any sort of for later on. But I know that we will probably be pulling brownies out of the freezer in June, and hurrah, because then we're all winners, aren't they? But so yeah, but for others, do you know what? The sky isn't going to cave in if our kids are going to sort of, have a mountain of chocolate for 2 or 3 days. Bring them back to a balanced diet, sort of later on. But it's allowed. It's fun. It's Easter, and this is the thing: is it's sort of far too many boundaries sometimes, and sometimes we can just relax and let our kids have fun and embrace it, because they'll go back to eating sensibly another time. And blimey, after the year we've had, don't we need a little bit of fun?
Oh, yeah, we sure do, Kai. It's good to hear you say that, because my son had 3 cream eggs in a row yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's my more disciplined one. So it's like slightly horrified.
Exactly. But the thing is, when he's about sort of 14 and he does the same and he comes out in pimples, he'll realise, oh, okay, that's probably not enough. But it's yeah. But it's not the end of the world, is it really? I think my view is pick your battles.
I love the chocolate brownie idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. We did melt some down and dip croissants into it.
Oh, lovely. Well, there you are.
The chocolate brownie, that's new. I think we might be working on that this afternoon.
Well, and and baking and all that is it's a great way of connecting, isn't it? And actually, if you've got kids who are maybe a bit worried and maybe a bit anxious, rather than sitting them down at the kitchen table and peering into the whites of their eyes, by doing an activity like baking and something, you can, I did this so many times with Alice, and there was one time she was being bullied, and she's the baker, so I was the sous chef, and as I was sort of saying, and how's it all going with so and so, shall I put this in the top or the bottom oven? And it sort of it just creates that atmosphere of being able to talk without making it really intense. So it just gives your child the opportunity to feel safe and to talk without as though they're feeling grilled. So yeah, there you are, chocolate brownies.
Another brilliant tip.
Yeah, so it just really helps, and it makes your child feel as though you're listening to them. But if it gets too intense, then oh my god, who wants to lick the bowl, or whatever it is, just so it just sort of keeps that sort of perspective.
Oh, that is so brilliant. Thanks, Kai. This has been fantastic, full of jewels as always. Look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks on the Eden Room.
In particular they want to hear about, then please let us know, because then we can, this is what it's all about, is being interactive and to answer the problems that the sort of viewers are sort of facing, whether or not you're watching this now or on the replay. Please just let us know, and we can tailor our talks to what you are. And yes, because this is really big, a lot of parents are going, oh no, I can't possibly admit that I'm having an awful time. This can be done anonymously, so if you need to DM, please DM, and I can just sort of say a viewer has asked or a mum has asked, because I know we're going back to what we were talking about, Kat, is that sort of the shame and the judgment and I don't care, if you don't want your name put against your question, absolutely fine by me. I just want to help those people that are having a horrid time. So definitely anonymity is not a problem as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, I so get that. I'm intensely private in lots of ways, despite having a personal brand and all the rest of it. When it comes to my private life, I like to keep it private as far as possible. So just put in confidence or confidential, send your question in to Kai or to me. You can even email hello@theedenroom.com. We've got your back. Nothing needs to be said on names, but we want to know what's upsetting you, what's bothering you, what you're struggling with. I know there's things with my kids still that one of my kids has definitely put on a few pounds over lockdown. I want to be talking with you about that, Kai, over the coming weeks, so that I've got plenty of material to keep us going. But I'm sure there's mums out there with teenagers, with going through challenging times, and it's we're in this all together. I really feel that at the moment. I feel like when the tide what's that saying, when the tide rises all the ships rise, So we've got an opportunity to all grow together in community at the moment, and to share from each other's experience, and having an expert like you, Kai, is just such a gift. So thank you. Thanks for providing this for us.
Yeah. So
questions. And a safe space, I think part of it is just knowing you're not alone, just like the kids need to know you're human, and it's okay if you're having some of these struggles. So that's another aspect of just being able to share. You might not have a question for Kai, but you might just want to share, and you might just want to be in that safe space and be supported, and know that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, have an amazing rest of your week, everybody. Thanks so much, Kai. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Much love. Bye for now.